This is the continuation of lesson 3.2, and in this particular lesson you're going to graph functions just like we did before, but now you're going to be given a specific domain. In the past you've been given a domain that were just simple coordinates of x, and we said that we would just leave those with the plotted points and we wouldn't connect them. But now, instead of just given a domain like 1, 2, 3, 4 or -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2, they're going to restrict it to specific ranges of values. So our domain here, remember those are the x values. Our domain here are all values where x is greater than or equal to 0. So what I like to do is I like to make a table, and I know it's greater than or equal to 0, so I'll do 3 or 4 points for x that are greater than or equal to 0. So 0, 1, 2, and 3. That works for me. And that complies with the restrictions on the domain. Now I'll go ahead and substitute in each x value to find the output, the y value. So 2 times 0 is 0, minus 2 is -2. 2 times 1 is 2, minus 2 is 0. 2 times 2 is 4, minus 2 is 2. 2 times 3 is 6, minus 2 is 4. And now I'll go ahead and plot these points. So when I plot the points, I have to decide, after I'm finished plotting them, how do I connect them? And in this particular case, it looks like as x is going up, the y value is also going up. So I would end up plotting these with a ray that looks like this. So there's only the arrow at the end of it, because as x keeps getting larger, which is x is greater than or equal to 0, the y values are also increasing. So it's a ray that goes in the positive direction. Now it's asking me about my range. My range are the y values, and the y values are going no lower than right here at -2, and they will keep going on into infinity. So I can say that y is greater than or equal to -2, and that covers it. Let's try another one over here, where we have our domain runs between -1 and +1. We would read this -1 is less than or equal to x is less than or equal to 1, or you could read it as x is greater than or equal to -1 and x is less than or equal to +1. So what I'm going to do is, again, I'm going to make my table. I like to use integers, so I'm going to go -1, 0, and 1. I do always definitely want to put my two endpoints, which come from the limits right there. So I'll just go ahead and substitute these points in. -3 times -1 is 3, plus 1 is 4. 0 times -3 is 0, plus 1 is 1. And 1 times -3 is -3, plus 1 is -2. And again, I'll go ahead and just plot these points. I have -1, 4, 0, 1, and 1, -2. Since I'm restricted at both ends, the domain can only run between -1 and 1, then that means my range can only run between -2 and 4. So if that's the case, I now have a segment. So there's the only part of the function that will be graphed, and my range, again, can only run between -2 and 4. When you write this, you want to take the smaller number, less than or equal to your variable y, less than or equal to the larger number. So here we have those. Okay, next. A bicycle rental shop rents bicycles for $8 per hour. The total cost C in dollars for renting a bicycle h hours is given by the function C equals 8h. So the cost is $8 per hour. Once you get to the rental shop, you figure you can rent a bicycle for at most 5 hours. Graph the function and identify its domain and range. What is the most that you will pay for renting a bicycle? So I know that here I have h and c. My input is h, my output is c. So my h are the domain values and the cost, my hours are domain, and the range or the cost. And I could run it for 0 hours or 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. Now I could run it for 2.5, 3 and 3/4, etc. But again, like I said before, I prefer to go ahead and use the integers when I'm doing this. So let's go ahead and just plug these in. 8 times 0 is 0, and then we have 1 times 8 is 8, 16, 24, 32, and 40. So when we graph these, now technically you only have to graph 2 points for a line, array, or a segment. So I'm going to go ahead and graph the 0, 0, and I'm going to graph the 5, 40. Since I'm locked in to 0, from 0 to 5 hours, I can do it at most 5 hours, my domain is 0 is less than or equal to h is less than or equal to 5. And my range looks like the price is running from $0 to $40. So there's my range. And this will be, again, a segment. So there's my segment. And it says, what is the most that you will pay for renting this bicycle? $40 at most. Here's your assignment if you want to get started. You will definitely need some graph paper for this. It's lesson 3-2, part 2, page 157 to 159, problems 26 to 32 even, 33, and 35 to 40.